everybody, and welcome to the booking office. One thing you may have noticed, we're not live. That's in interest of trying to make sure that the rest of these episodes get up in a timely fashion. To be perfectly honest, we have very little time left before the end of the year, and I'd like to actually make sure that we finish off our 1991 before the first of the year. So, with that said, the rest of these episodes are going to be pre-tapes, as we would say in the wrestling business. But we're going to take the rest of these in advance. We got a new set here for the booking office. Trying to do a little bit of upgrading in our presentations. Yay. Although this won't always be used for the booking office. We'll use it for some of the other shows here on the channel too. It really does kind of help and give a nice little visual. Here's our main event that we're going to talk about this week in our fantasy booking world. So, to give you guys an idea, by the way, I'm Mike. Nice to meet you. So, if you haven't tuned in before, let you know what we're doing here on the booking office. The booking office is the show where I have been given some random challenge in the world of professional wrestling as a booker to put on my thinking cap, redon my personality as Greg Hunter, and see what I can do when it comes to booking some hypothetical scenario. My erstwhile broadcast colleague, who will be hosting a season of the booking office himself next year, John the Body Johnson, color commentator for Anarchy Wrestling, has asked me to rebook 1991's WWE, but I have to use the 1991 WCW babyface roster. Hence the fact that you see Ron Simmons on that screen if you haven't been keeping up with us. So go back and check out all the previous episodes to figure out how we got to this Tuesday in Texas. It's been an interesting trip. So to give you a little bit of background on what this Tuesday in Texas was in real life, other than a bad idea. This Tuesday in Texas happened literally 6 days after Survivor Series. I want you to think about that for a second. 6 days after Survivor Series. Survivor Series was on Thursday, November 27th. Turn around on Tuesday, December 3rd, was this Tuesday in Texas, held in the Freeman Coliseum in San Antonio, Texas. And had about 8,000 people on hand for a 13-match card, of which only 5 were on the pay-per-view. Now, I'm assuming that the first 8 matches on the card were either, some of them were straight-up dark matches, and I can tell that by looking at them, because there are some names that were never in the WWE. In fact, 4 matches here are quite literally just probably local guys and some people getting tryouts. The Harris brothers were in the opening tag match against Brian Costello and Brian Donahue, neither of whom have I ever heard of. Sir Charles defeated Dale Wolf in the second match. I've heard of Dale Wolf. I don't know who Sir Charles is, although apparently, hold on a second. Oh, that's the Godfather. He'd get a job later, so that must have been Papa Shango's tryout. Chris Walker and Brian Lee, primetime Brian Lee, who'd later go on to be the fake Undertaker, the $1 Million Man's Undertaker, a few years later. The War Eagle, Chris Chavis, a.k.a. Tatanka, as he would become known, against J.W. Storm. So it was a lot of tryout matches, basically. And then you wind up with Greg Valentine and the Brooklyn Brawler and the Nasty Boys and the Bushwhackers. The Legion of Doom defended the World Tag Titles against the Beverly Brothers, and Ric Flair defeated Roddy Piper. Now, when in the world did you ever think Flair versus Piper would be a dark match? Chances are most of those matches were taped for Coliseum Home Video or something similar back then. Or maybe they did a TV taping beforehand or some such. Who knows? But the actual card was 5 matches. Most of those matches were about 10 to 15 minutes-ish in time, with one match only going about 6.5. We're going to make the pay-per-view a little bit longer. We're only going to keep 5 matches. I'm going to stay true to the actual WWE formatting, so to speak, of 5 matches on the card. But I'm going to expand the times that everybody gets a little bit. I've gotten 2 new roster additions in December. So Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Jushin Thunder Liger join my roster in December. I'm not really doing anything with Marcus Bagwell just yet. I've literally had these guys for 3 days. However, I'm going to play slightly fast and loose here with JJ's challenge on this one regard. I can't have Jushin Liger on the card, but we're going to assume that I've known he's coming a little bit. So there are probably some little vignettes. He's coming, from the land of the rising sun. Thunder will strike on December 3rd. Things like that. Just to hype the arrival of Jushin Liger, because I have plans for the young man. So let's take a look here at what we're going to be doing. Survivor Series literally just happened. The big takeaways out of Survivor Series were really putting over Flair. Ric Flair winning the Ultimate Survivors match at the end of the night. The Undertaker defeated Ron Simmons with the Tombstone Piledriver in 15 minutes to win the title in what was a hell of a fight. No shenanigans, no nothing of anything like that, just straight up a fight. The rematch at this Tuesday in Texas in the main event is going to come about with Ron Simmons demanding his rematch clause as soon as possible. And we see this in an interview on TV over the weekend. I literally have probably 3 TVs to do anything that I'm going to do a Tuesday in Texas. And which means there's not going to be a lot of planning involved. In fact, I'm going to basically use this Tuesday in Texas to set up the Royal Rumble. So in that regards, I guess I'm using it as a glorified television taping. In many ways, the way you would use a Raw or a SmackDown today to build a pay-per-view, except this is a pay-per-view. Other big takeaways, we got Brian Pillman over fairly strong in one of the Survivor Series matches. We got Demolition over Big in the opener. Like I said, we really hammered home Flair. But the big things here are going to be a little bit around the Heenan family, and then looking to the world title and setting up the Royal Rumble. So, with that said, let's get to this Tuesday in Texas. First things first, on probably All-American of the TV shows I have access to, probably the main event of All-American Wrestling, we have a new Intercontinental Champion before we ever get to this Tuesday in Texas. Big Bully Busick defeated Sting on television to win the Intercontinental title. So Bobby the Brain Heenan, the Heenan family, has gold once again, this time around the waist of Big Bully Busick, the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion. For a while I thought about sliding it back on Perfect, but looking at what I've set up here as almost a pseudo 4 horsemen with the Heenan family, being Perfect, Martel, Busick, and Flair. And realistically, if you look at it, I really have kind of set up a pseudo horseman. The role of Ric Flair being played by Ric Flair, but Big Bully Busick is effectively in this situation, as my monitor goes dark. Well, we lost that. So anyway, Big Bully Busick is my Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion, but he's my Arn Anderson. He's the enforcer of the team, so makes sense. Then you have Perfect, who is for all intent and purpose my Barry Windham. He's that good a worker. He's that good in the ring, so he kind of fulfills that role. And then we've got my effectively my Tully Blanchard in Rick Martel. Number 2 heel in the faction, cocky, arrogant ladies man. He has He even has his perfect 10, Baby Doll, or in this case, he has sensational Sherry Martel, who we never used the last name Martel just to avoid confusion and things. They weren't related, but, you know, just putting that out there. So, Big Bully Busick is now the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion. He wins the title because I wanted him in a gatekeeper role eventually. So, Big Bully Busick will defend successfully the Intercontinental title in 10 minutes, hitting his Heart Punch, the Bully Blaster, on Tom Zink to retain the title. Solid match. We're solidifying Busick as IC champion. And he will be the Intercontinental champion for some time to come. Second match on the card is going to be an upset. Brad Armstrong looks good whenever we have him on TV against job guys, and that's part of the point. And he always looks like a solid wrestler. And we sort of see improvement over time with Brad Armstrong on television. The idea being that as we progress, his TV matches against enhancement talent get shorter and shorter. Where he might have a 10-minute enhancement match 6 months ago, those same matches are now 5 minutes. And it's slowly but surely we see the improvement. At the same time, matches against opponents of consequence, against other top names, get longer and longer. And he gets closer and closer to beating them. So here, Brad Armstrong is going to take on the Mountie with the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, and he's going to beat him with a backslide in 20 minutes. We're going to see some heart and some determination out of Brad Armstrong. We're going to see some fire. I'm positioning Brad Armstrong to kind of set him up for a shot at the Intercontinental title. I say Busick's going to be the champion for some time to come. Probably till right before WrestleMania in my head right now. Because I want to set up a wrestling fan's dream match for WrestleMania, and I think I've got one when I was looking at everything on paper earlier today. So Brad Armstrong goes over on the Mountie with a backslide in 20 minutes. Brad Armstrong's going to start winning, and it's going to be catching people with wrestling holds. Brad Armstrong's not going to have a finisher. In enhancement matches, we see the side Russian leg sweep win matches. But beyond that, when he's in against somebody of some consequence, he's not hitting the side Russian leg sweep. He's hitting something else. Backslide, what have you. Third match on the card, the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Because how could I have Ric Flair in a dark match? Especially when I'm positioning him. I want him strong and at the top of the card. Flair with Bobby the Brain Heenan in his corner is going to defeat the total package Lex Luger in 15 minutes with a roll-up and a handful of tights. It's a basic Flair Luger match. Luger's a big, imposing, impressive-looking guy, and I need people to know that Flair can beat those people. Albeit not necessarily clean. And no shenanigans from Heenan in either match. Heenan doesn't need to get involved in either of these. At most, maybe he mouths at the ref when fans are going off after the match about a handful of tights. Heenan's waving out, you didn't see nothing, ref, there wasn't no handful of tights, etc., etc. Big build-up, light show, huge entrance for Jushin Thunder Liger in our semi-main event. Jushin Thunder Liger, in his debut, is going to go over on Skinner, a.k.a. Steve Kern, who can work his ass off. But he's going to go over on Skinner in 15 minutes with the Shooting Star Press. On paper, this looks like a contrast in styles, and it is. But Steve Kern is one of the best hands professional wrestling has known. So, very little doubt in my mind that he can go in here and have a really good match with Liger, because we need to see Liger in a slightly different light. The WWE is not WCW. The WWE was the land of the giants. And there's no light heavyweight title, nor will there be for some time. So, if I want Liger to be a big deal, and with his look, and he's literally a cartoon character, Jushin Liger, took the concept for his gimmick, his wrestling gimmick, from an anime called Jushin Liger. Um, then I've got to get him over on bigger guys, but he's going to be the quick, greasy, fast, hit and run kind of babyface, and he's going to work that Japanese style. And Steve Keirn can do that for him. And the main event for the World Heavyweight Championship, the World Heavyweight Champion, The Undertaker, with Paul Bearer at ringside, will defeat Ron Simmons by referee stoppage. Essentially, the rhetoric we're going to get over the weekend on TV is that if, it was obviously, oh yes, Ron Simmons, if it was not enough for you to lose your title, you will lose your life against The Undertaker. It's pretty much going to be, what was it not enough for you to lose your title? Fine, now you will lose everything. The Undertaker never makes a single attempt to pin Ron Simmons. Ron Simmons never stays down until the very end. Ron Simmons is continuously trying to fight back up. He refuses to quit. The referee will ask him if he wants to quit numerous times. But he's going to wind up taking 3 tombstone pile drivers. More or less one right after the other. With some theatrics in between. But he's going to take 3 tombstone pile drivers. We are going to have our announcers say on commentary that we are not certain about Ron Simmons's, if he's still feeling the effects of Survivor Series. He'll probably sell a little bit of that. But we're putting Ron Simmons on the shelf, essentially, for a little while. Because we'll bring Ron Simmons back with the Hero's Welcome down the road. But this is going to get him out of the way for a little bit. 3 consecutive tombstone power drivers. The referee is going to stop the match. There's probably a 4th tombstone pile driver after the match. And probably looking for a 5th one when who makes the save. But, we send out babyfaces try to make the save. They all get cleaned house. And he goes for tombstone number 5, and here comes Sting. And Sting will have a face-off with The Undertaker, and he'll punch him, he'll punch him, he'll punch him, he'll, rear back, he'll clothesline him, and The Undertaker will do the backflip over the top rope, land on his feet. No selling all of it. But Sting still got him out of the ring. And at that point, Paul Bearer will hand The Undertaker the belt, and it's time to leave. So that is where we're at a Tuesday in Texas, or this Tuesday in Texas. Big Bully Busick retains the Intercontinental title in impressive fashion. Brad Armstrong squeaks by the Mountie in an upset. That's hopefully going to be the match of the night. I'm giving him 20 minutes. Flair's going to beat Lex Luger in just basically a solid match for Ric Flair to do what Ric Flair does. Jushin Liger is going to go over on Skinner in 15 minutes with the Shooting Star Press so that we can make him look like a comic book superhero superstar. Will you believe a man can fly? And then The Undertaker, in emphatic fashion, is going to defeat Ron Simmons for the World Heavyweight, to retain the World Heavyweight Championship when the referee stops the contest, declaring Ron Simmons unable to continue. We're setting up Sting and The Undertaker. That is the plan. Going into the Royal Rumble, I've got a few things in my head. One of those being, do we have the Royal Rumble be for something? This is the first year that the Royal Rumble had a substantial prize other than Pride coming up. Because in real life, the world title was vacated at Tuesday, right after Tuesday in Texas, when Hogan won the title back from The Undertaker in very controversial fashion. and it set up Ric Flair winning the title in the Rumble. Well, that's not going to happen here. So how am I going to get the belt where I want it to get to WrestleMania? And am I going to have the Rumble actually be for something? All these questions and more will be answered next time on the Booking Office. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed my look here at my version of this Tuesday in Texas. Hopefully it draws better than the WWE's did, I suppose. Let me know what you think in the comments below, because your comments can shape the direction of my WWE universe. So, if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give us a thumbs down. Either way, just let us know why. We appreciate any kind of feedback we get around here. Of course, hit that red subscribe button too if you haven't already, because that really does help us out. If you want to pick up some cool merch, you can head over to our Cafe Press store, cafepress.com/ECS Network. Every little bit helps. We greatly appreciate it. And until next time, 1 week from today, folks, where we will be at the Royal Rumble, where Papa Shango will join my roster, apparently. I'm Mike, and we'll see you around.